So, give a hand to Waldemar Zeiler, founder of the Entrepreneurs Pledge.
Hello. Thank you very much for still being here. It's Friday evening and not too many people have left. Thank you for that already. I was actually listening also last night to Sam, and I was thinking how I could get you interested before starting my presentation with a 60-second pitch. So I did put something together, and I hope I can get you interested in continuing. If not, you just tell me and I'll leave the stage. Well, did you know that if every individual on this earth would use as many resources as we do, we would need 2 to 3 Earths? Did you know that you can actually make profits without having to eat Pim for dinner? Did you know that by now you're probably labeling myself as a tree-hugging activist and thinking about your weekend plans or the strippers from yesterday? Imagine a world where there's only one world, where you can make profits and Pim is still alive, and where tree-hugging activists would become actually experienced entrepreneurs. Well, you don't have to imagine, because this is what the Entrepreneurs Pledge is about. Still interested? Yeah, thanks you. I have 15 minutes, and I know you're all busy, so I distilled this whole thing to 14 minutes. I learned another lesson. The Entrepreneurs Pledge was actually founded by Philip, the guy who just introduced me and myself a couple of months ago. And I want to explain why we did that and actually take you a couple years back into my life. Not too exciting, but it's good for you to know why we have started the whole thing. I had my first entrepreneurial experience at the age of 18, 19. I studied, I was actually doing my Abitur, my college, and I founded an agency which is writing CV and cover letters. Also my first lesson where I realized what the difference is between being self-employed and having a scalable business. Well, it didn't scale, and my parents are pretty happy that I actually did the Abitur instead of continuing with that business. I started another business when I was studying in Maastricht in Holland with a couple buddies of mine. It was more of an experiment mode. And you might wonder why it didn't work out. Some of you might ask, well, you probably founded that company with some Dutch guys. No, it was all Germans I started the company with, and I just did that because there was some German bashing earlier on from Taco, and I just wanted to give back to the community with some Dutch bashing. No. Well, basically, after doing a couple companies, the first event where I actually encountered scalable business was at a business called Game Goods. That was in 2007, and I headhunted myself to a company which was based on World of Warcraft. So some of you might know World of Warcraft. Back then in 2007, that was the most successful, massive, multiplayer, online role-playing game with 10 million players worldwide. And what Game Goods actually did, they were the intermediary between the players from the US and Europe, which wanted to buy a big sword or a big horse they could ride on and destroy other clans, but they didn't want to work for that. Yeah, so it was they wanted that sword and that horse, but mining that gold, and the gold was actually the currency in World of Warcraft. To buy all that stuff, to be like a bigger man for your ego, you had to actually go and mine with your mouse. You had to go to mining fields and actually mine some gold. So, like in the real world, the US and the European players outsourced that to China. And in China, you had like big production-sized people sitting in a long line with their computers and actually mining their gold for the Europeans and the US players. And Game Goods actually based that whole business on that. So what they did is that we got the order from a European player saying like, yeah, I want that sword and gold. We took that order and we placed it in a marketplace in Hong Kong. So we built also a marketplace, and then freelancers, farmers, miners, avatars took that order, went mining for us, and then gave actually the gold to our dealer network in Bucharest. So we had in Bucharest a whole call center and also a long production line of dealers who then took the gold in-game and brought it actually to the European, to the US players. Or deposited it somewhere where they could find it. And there was of course the World of Warcraft police. So they were looking out for people, for dealers who were carrying too much gold around. It was actual money, I mean, because people paid up front, and if one of the dealers got busted, then like $200-300 were just gone. Well, that is interesting in itself, but what struck me the first time as an entrepreneur is the speed, how this whole business developed. So after 6 months, they had 100 people on their payroll, they had offices in Cologne, Bucharest, and Hong Kong, and they were actually VCs crazy enough to invest in that. And I'm not talking about 100,000, 200, I'm talking really a big amounts of money. And that was the field where I said like, wow, I want to be active in that kind of field, not necessarily in World of Warcraft, but in that field where young guys with ambitious ideas get actually great funding and really can develop speed and go into the whole thing. So I continued doing that, and I went to Berlin and started with Rocket Internet, another company called Experto. And after that, I started a company called Digitale Seiten with Team Europe, which was active in the Yellow Pages field. And I handed over that company after 3.5 years last October. I was doing all that, I was pursuing my dream, so I thought, but somehow I wasn't happy. And so I was asking myself, so what's wrong with you, dude? Why are you not happy? So basically I went to Google and typed in happiness. Was looking for my happiness, and I found actually a nice formula saying that happiness is reality minus expectations. And somehow I thought like, yeah, that's right. Somehow I have unicorn expectations which aren't met or don't match my reality. And I was frustrated, I didn't know what to do, and what does Generation Y do if they don't know what to do? They run away. So that's what I did. I went on a sabbatical with my backpack in Central and South America for 6 months, and I just walked there and had time to think. The first time I think in 10 years, not being in the hamster wheel, just thinking about stuff. And I realized that, well, you're an entrepreneur. You enjoy building companies, but still you weren't quite happy. You haven't found somehow your unicorn way. So you need to change something. So just for fun, I was thinking, well, maybe you should, I don't know, switch around, maybe do some physical products, maybe do something different. And I just analyzed the products I use. So all products that came into my mind that I actually use. Here we go. Now I'm back. And I was just analyzing it, just not a deep research, but just looking into them, and did some value chain analysis, stakeholder analysis, and I was quite shocked actually. I was shocked what I found with not much research actually, that in many products there's child labor involved, and it's not like just one of the few companies, but in certain fields like cocoa or like coffee, you can find it everywhere. You have working conditions for one of your technique stuff you have around there, which have suicide rates as a KPI almost. You have pollution everywhere you look. You have the way the animals are treated, you eat, and also pimps here again. And last but not least, you had the event of Rana Plaza in Bangladesh where 1,200 people died actually sewing t-shirts, and I was looking at my drawer and seeing that actually a couple of brands that were lying on the floor in Rana Plaza were the brands I had in my drawer. And it's, I can assure you it's not just some special brands, it's just regular brands you can find on every street. Thank you. So, one too early. So you might think now, well, that's good for you. Wow, he's got a long beard, he's got long hair, he's become a tree hugger. Wonderful. What's it got to do with EO? What's it got to do with you guys? And I'm sorry to say, but what's happening out there is happening on your playing field. It's your game, it's the economy. And the economy is responsible for a lot of stuff that's happening out there, from climate change to pollution to whatever. And there are some players on the field who are committing serious foul plays. And who else is going to actually look after the rules, and who's going to change the course of the game, if not the young active players on the field who are sweating their asses off, who are really running around. It's not going to be the multinationals sitting on the VIP lounges and saying like, oh, we have to change something. No, it's going to be the youngsters. So how do you do that? So I was thinking back into the lessons I learned from Rocket Internet and from different other companies. Like, how do they do it? How do you get actually exponential growth? How do you get impact? Because there is so much time left to change things. How do you do that? So basically, I came up with the same things. You need to build an Uber or an Airbnb. First of all, you need disruptive technology. You need experienced entrepreneurs, and you need really big funding. For the first one, there's a good message: disruptive technology. According to Moore's law, the computing power is doubling every 2 years, and the price staying the same. The same is applicable for solar panels or renewable energies. So you can have technology at a very good price. What about experienced entrepreneurs? Well, lean startup mode, Philip and I just said, well, let's just set up a document and go to experienced entrepreneurs and ask them if they were willing to actually found one company which is treating every stakeholder in a fair way, and on top, once you've generated a cash cow, giving 50% of the profits back into the stakeholders. We just tried. We just set up a document. I mean, you can see it here. You can quickly read through it. I dedicate my passion and entrepreneurial gift to make a difference with my lifetime and make the world a better place. Hereby promise, blah, 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 blah. We just tried. And something interesting happened. All of a sudden, people started signing. And they actually liked that weird idea. So by now, having just set up a draft website, it's 2.5 months old, 35 people have signed the pledge. And you can have a look through names, entrepreneurspledge.org. Some quite successful entrepreneurs who have signed it already. So it's working. So for the second ingredient, experienced entrepreneurs, we can also say it does work. What's the last ingredient we need to really have impact growth and to make it big, like from the companies we all know who have exponential growth, is think big funding. Do we have that? So let's have a look at the funding which was given, including Silicon Valley last year. You can see that in 2013, almost $30 billion were invested. That's including Uber, Airbnb, Rocket Internet, all in there. So I ask you, how much do you think of that chunk, of that 30 billion, is going to go into social entrepreneurship? Two, three, if at all, certainly not enough to make real impact and really change something in the world happening here. But I have a good story. We don't even need them. There are other actually sources which are far more interesting. Let's look at philanthropy. There's a problem. Also, people who are very rich have problems. And the philanthropists have particularly two problems. One of them is they made already a huge amount of money. So if they invest their money into social entrepreneurship, also called impact investing, people think or might think they're greedy. You made so much money, why do you still invest in something that still gives you some dividends or will maybe give you some money back? So they'd rather give it to charity, write it off and say like, here, I mean, I've got enough of that, I don't want to be accused of anything earning further money. On the other hand, it's a simple problem of starting something and actually spending $1 billion. Most of them are above 60 years old, maybe 10, 15 years to live, and you have like 2-3 billions to spend. Who did you give the money to? A tree-hugging activist? 50 million? No, who's actually able to spend that money efficiently for a good cause? And on the other hand, we have Mr. Mohammed Yunus, who is saying like every charity dollar has just one life, but a social business dollar is many. And what we've done actually with the Entrepreneurs Pledge is building a bridge between Mohammed Yunus and also the Giving Pledge by actually putting together stepping stones and building a bridge towards that. And every entrepreneur of you who is actually signing the pledge, and that's a commitment for the future, is helping us to build that bridge. So let's make the philanthropists an offer they can't refuse by gathering thousands of entrepreneurs who are willing to start social business or starting it already, and who are making this formula work again and our game fair again. Thank you very much.